everybody was against us. Everybody was saying that this is ridiculous, this is not any type of art, telling us that we should be put in mental hospital. So there was no audience for this kind of art. You know, I spent, looking backwards, 55 years in the medium performance art. Sometimes artists spend all their lifetime to find what is the right thing to express their work. And to me, I already in my 20s, I found the performance the one. Because performance has so many qualities that other media don't. It's time-based, second is immediate, then you have to be present to be there. It really deals with memory, what the public take away from performance and how that memory actually become the oral. They will tell to their friends, friends will take to their friends. When I find performance, everything changed. I was incredibly timid. I could not even walk in the front of the people just on the street. And then when I started doing performance in the front of audience, I was naked. I was doing things that I could never imagine to do in my private life. And all of that fears and all insecurity just disappear. And I understand that actually the content and what I wanted to present to the public was more important than me, poor Abramović, being exposed to the public. And this will start actually, I start changing emotionally and physically, mentally and spiritually, and after now 55 years looking back what I done, I think I will not done any other way. I will never do any other media. I never return to painting. I never return to the traditional conventional art anymore. Once you do performance and you want to feel that energy that you can radiate to the public and energy that you can receive from the public and how this all chemistry is working, you are never the same. When I started doing performance art, it was such a small amount of people doing it. We felt like a sheep, black sheep, in a society. Everybody was against us. Everybody was saying that this is ridiculous, this is not any type of art. So there was no audience for this kind of art or understanding of any kind. And then all the thing was really, actually performance was happening in the very small groups of people, maybe friends, 5, 10, 15, 30 was a much larger group. And that kind of work, it was seen in the spaces like a cellars, like a private studio of an artist, no public spaces, no any of this kind of situation, especially in a museum, was not even thinking about that we can actually attract a large audience. So we was very isolated, and this also gave us strength and courage that actually to believe this kind of media, no matter what, I'm going to continue. You know, Abramović Method actually started not as Abramović Method. It started really in the late 70s, 80s, and it started as a cleaning the house. We call cleaning the house, and it was only done with the art students in universities and and for the young artists. And we always clean our house where we live, but we never clean the only house. The most important is ourselves. I will create a situation when I will bring 12 to 14 students, arts performance students, into the landscape where it's all too hot or too cold, never comfortable, sleeping all together. And having, let's say, if 10 days or week, there will be 5 days with no talking, no eating at all, and doing heavy exercises in order to have perception, self-control, and really confrontation with the physical, mental limits of the body. Because to have performance and to work with long duration, you have to have strengths. You have to be physically really, really fit. In early times, in the 70s, performance artists didn't have any of this kind of fitness requirement, because performance was 1 hour, and 1 hour you use willpower to do it, and then you rest for 3 months. But what if something is like much longer? You have to have you can't without being really fit do something which is 10 days or 7 days or 5 days or anything 24 hours. So this was really important. And then cleaning the house turned into Abramović Method for everybody. It was so important to me that I had the chance in 255 years to be only female artist in Royal Academy, that I have something that I can balance, my work with what I believe is the future. And this is, the takeover of the Southbank. And when we start collaborating, the idea was really all spaces you have. every single space who people see, not see, offices, corridors, the storage rooms, this foyer in the Elizabeth Hall, and to really place the artists and do their own work. Everybody proposes work. It was, we are talking 11 artists from I think 9 countries, which is really international, very different ages, different approach to their own, ideas. And this was so amazing amount of original work, and for me was interesting that the performance scene didn't see anything close to this. British performance scene is just different. It's a very different way they're working, and I think that the public understood that was different, that was unique, and they really support by the large amount of coming and supporting artist work and coming every day and looking to the final ending. The public today want to be part of something, and this performance and taking over Southbank here give them this opportunity to be part of something much larger scale. I just realized during this interview that I'm sitting almost at the same place where the artist from Myanmar was sitting, with completely covered face and not to be recognized. And I even saying now his name is actually dangerous because he doesn't want to be recognized because of the political reason and incredible brutal situation in his country. The only way that he can participate in this kind of silent presence. If I just look into my left, and then I really see the Yiannis Pappas piece, which is Greek artist who really reconstruct the piece that he done already in Greece, and for us was really important to show it one more time. And this is the 5 actually capsules where he entered in the first one, and only think he had the key to actually break the walls in slow motion and for long period of time. And only by breaking wall he was able to exit into next place and next place into next place. So every day was one actually the chamber to cross. And on the end of the last day he had to wait because public had the key and I have to let him out. And I remember everybody was giving me keys, so I took the key and let him out. And it's so wonderful to see ending of that piece and exhaustion in his face and satisfaction and happiness in the same time. And the piece is performance but also sculpture in the same time. And then a little bit farther down we have Aleksander Timotić, and he comes from my own country, and which is interesting with him that he's a professional opera singer. Professional opera singers never make performances in their life. This is the totally unique situation where he actually also he has a very special voice. He's almost like soprano from this big body with a beard and kind of very, very strong. There comes this incredible, almost female voice. And then his piece was so Slavic. He had this enormous quantity of potatoes, hundreds and hundreds of kilos on the table, and the 12 people around him can sit with a knife and just peel potatoes. And then occasionally he will stand on the chair and sing these Slavic songs from the youth, which I remember all of them because my grandmother sing, my mother sing, and I sing them too. And this was really incredible how to see how these 3 works function in this big hall. And they're happening simultaneously, but not one piece overlap or overpower another one. Everybody have his own position and his own audience to follow the structure. And then you go to backstage to the Elizabeth Hall, and there the backstage is not the stage anymore. It's just another chamber. So Miles Greenberg, actually cast these people with different physics in the slow motion. You don't know is it ballet or wrestling, and everything is so mesmerizing. The public just stay there and just can't leave. There's something about time, kind of time stops. There's nothing happening, but I mean, nothing is developing that will change. But it's just kind of never ending. The movement goes around and around, and keep this time of presence so incredibly strong. You go there to see 5 minutes and you find yourself standing 1 hour, and there's a part of this slow motion movement. There is nothing else. So all what you see there is your own projection of your own mind into this work. And then you are confronted with enormous space, which is the seats where public normally sit, completely empty. And there is just the pole with the flag. And then we have the artist who is tied by the British flag and just standing there. Wow. That piece is like mind-blowing to me. Again, it's a long durational, it's always there. Sometimes through the incredible effort and physical, tiredness, he sit down but still is tied to the pole. And then you see that work, and you think about everything. You think about politics, you think about the race, and also nakedness and British flag and the emptiness of the space start talking to you. And you sit there and you just can't move either. So every single work is so different between each other. This is essential to me. They have to develop their own individuality and their own content. Then we go all the way down the basement and we see the Paula, and just Garcia, Brazilian artist. And then she started the people throwing their nails and the magnetic element behind her. And then the sound, who is like overwhelming and goes through your entire body. I still remember the sound of that crashing on her body. And then her fragility and strength at the same time, in the moment that she's just going to collapse and being held. It's kind of really very strong stuff. I mean, the people will just stay there for hours. Nobody's moving. And then, we can go on, and we come to the pole, which is the corridor, and white and bleached. And this is man with mask and completely covered with this incredible aggressive stick in his hand and beating hell out of the wall. And then you're in the middle of the war with Palestine and the middle of the war of Iran, Israel and Russia, and what is going on in the hell. And you just see pure violence, but so capsuled and so isolated, so that you can reflect everything that's going on right now in the world. And then you go to this room with that people wait in the corridor to go in for hours, to be just alone with Despina, and we never know what's happening there. And it's all based on trust and lots of, interesting interactions. And I actually never know what really happened, because people who come out, they don't tell me. So this is another interesting, like a secret capsule in the space. And all the relation with the public is one-to-one, in very intimate, very claustrophobic, very small space. And, anything can happen. And the danger element of that is really part of the work.
Do you think that fragmentation is something bad? Sometimes. You can easily lose yourself.
And I can go on and on and on, but every piece was special and different and had their own intensity and their own structure. And I remember the public going from one piece to another and coming back and seeing what's happening. It was like a kind of incredible, like almost like a labyrinth, a procession. The public never got tired. You know what made me optimistic the most? The public who attend my shows. The public is extremely young. We have a situation that the young kids, age 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, bring their parents to see the show. It's not other ways around. The parents bring the children. No, children bring the parents. So if the audience that young actually, understand that kind of work, that means it's the future. It's something that this work is going to live. Is by doing this work and being exposed to such a large audience like here, like doing in the different countries we've been working, we have opportunity that our curators come and see the work and get invitations for the next steps, which is kind of really wonderful, and also give opportunity to young artists to actually continue their career. People generally they don't know much about performance art. Performance art is the language. When you look at the painting, you also have to have some kind of the knowledge about the painting or the art you're seeing it. The same with performance. They need education. And most of the performers, they don't provide this education element. And it's also interesting that public will come and see something and they look boring and just leave. Or they will come and performance is not good. So they will create opinion that performance is great, really shitty art, and I don't want to come and see second thing. But if you have a patience and you go to see more performances, you see 5, 6, 7, 10 different artists, different content and different ideas, you will figure out yourself that actually some of these are incredibly interesting, some of the performances are emotionally moving, and some performances can really change your entire opinion to look the world. And that's the power of performance. It's this alive element. It's a living form of art.